Hello and welcome to my Business Story podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Perez. Welcome. Uh, Today in this podcast, we'll be talking about business stories, and how to find success no matter what your passion is. Our guest today is Keith Turner. He's the owner of Homestead Funding in New London, Connecticut. He's a proud husband to Emily and father to his bundle of joy, Grant. He actually studied to be a rocket scientist, but decided to switch to mortgages for whatever reason. So we're going to talk about that. Keith, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course. Um, so let's talk about that. Why mortgages and why not rockets?
Yeah, yeah. So my background was civil and aerospace engineering. I was going the astronaut route, and then realized you can have the title of astronaut and never actually go up into space,
Mm,
and just spend the rest of your life in Huntsville, Alabama.
mm,
And it was not really what I wanted to kind of do. And my father had done this since about 1980 or so.
mhm,
So we're about between he and I, we're about gosh, what is that? 45 years doing
mhm,
this. Um, and Yeah, I mean, I love math. Math's, you're either right or wrong. The math, there's no like opinion.
mhm, mhm,
And you're helping a lot more people. And so it sort of slowly talked about, I'd done um, jet engine design for a while, did bridge design, and was just
mhm,
not a cubicle guy. I just couldn't do it, even though I basically sit in a giant cubicle all day here at the office. But it's a lot more fun. I find this more rewarding. You're driving down the street, helping. You can say, "Hey, I helped them get into their house, help them stay in their house,"
yeah.
and yeah, it's just so I was going to slowly take over for him. He got sick, and I just kind of
Mhm,
baptism by fire is kind of what I call it, and
mhm,
jumped right in. And that was in 2011 ish or so, and the rest is history.
yeah. Yeah. And that's sort of uh, the story of a lot of business owners. And the more I talk about people, is just I think, like, for me especially, I just went into, photography, decided to go at it, no backup plan really for me,
Yep.
not even savings, and it worked out well for me. But yeah, I think that's the best way to learn. Sometimes it's similar to when I've heard immersion. When you like learning a language, the best way to learn is through
Yep.
surrounding yourself with people that speak only the language that you want to learn, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I mean,
Um,
that's what when I'd started doing this, I remember asking my dad, and I was like, "Oh, so it's a you're just filling out a bunch of forms, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's a little more intricate than that." And
yeah.
I sure learned pretty quickly. And um, yeah, I mean, one of the big things was, there was I had a lot of good mentors, and
Mhm,
I tell anybody that's starting a business is find a mentor. There's no shame in finding a mentor. Somebody wants to see you do well is not a bad thing to have by your side. And there were a lot of people that had said, they kept the door open because of my father, and said, "Hey, we're going to give him a shot." And there's a
yeah.
lot of people that said, "No, we're not going to give him a shot." So I had to earn my keep. And as anybody that does real estate knows, you're only as good as you. It's not,
Mhm,
there's no like name behind it. Um,
mhm,
it may open a door or two, but you really got to prove yourself. And I definitely learned that pretty damn quickly.
yeah.
And and I also have a great back office here.
Mhm,
I've got a good support staff, and they make me look
yeah.
good.
Awesome. And then do you ever miss, um I'm not sure how deep you were in, creating those
Yeah,
rockets. Do you ever miss, the sounds and smells, the
not a
fumes in the
moment.
morning?
Not a moment. No. Um, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's fun. I don't knock anybody. Like, I have a bunch of friends that do it, and I enjoyed it, but I
Mm,
definitely was not the type of person that had from attention span that was going to work on a lug nut of the 747 Dreamliner for 20 years of my
mhm.
life. And I just, not that I mean, that's great for some people, but I just couldn't do
Yeah.
it. I can barely sit there and watch a movie. So uh, yeah.
Yeah, you should come to I live near Tweed,
Oh yeah.
New Haven. Like, literally, it's down the street, and I can see the all the planes taxiing and coming in and
Yeah.
out. And you should come here a Saturday morning, smell those fumes if you ever feel
Yeah.
reminiscent.
I remember, yeah, I mean, I remember one of our projects, we had to design a plane with certain stats and takeoff field length and, all that good
Mhm,
stuff. And I remember my dad, this is back in grad school, and he had asked, he's like, he was so proud. He's like, his son, my son made this plane, or like, it was all design. It was all just theoretical, but it was
Yeah.
pictures and renderings. And he was like, yeah, he designed this plane. And I was like, I wouldn't fly on it. Like, you know, I mean, it technically worked, on paper and everything, but I was like, this thing is ugly as hell. So yeah, but I mean, those are the fun days, and a lot of great. I don't say relationships, but a lot of yeah. I mean, you'd say relationships, friendships built from it.
Mhm,
A couple of years ago, I spoke down at Georgia Tech's, my alma mater's. They kind of had like a symposium,
mhm,
and there's a lot of people that are just created their own aircraft companies and things like that.
mhm.
And then you got little old Keith Turner, who does mortgages in New London, Connecticut. But it was interesting
Mhm.
because I told them, I was like, 60% of you guys probably, and that's not a scientific stat, but 60% of you are going to get out there and then realize you don't want to do engineering,
Mhm.
and don't pigeonhole yourself into that 10 years down the road. And
Yeah.
you know, I joke around, a lot of real estate agents, a lot of mortgage people, like, what was their first career before they did real
Mhm.
estate? Because none
Yeah.
of them really started doing, and most of them
Yeah.
didn't start that way. So
Yeah. Before I got into photography, I was cable installer, baker. I
yep,
used to be what's called a greaser for Schneider Electric Square D. So I would
yep.
go in and install those copper bars for the substation circuit breakers
Oh yeah,
uh, because I was thin enough at that time. A bunch of
yeah,
different odds and end kind of jobs that sort of get your mind sort of turned, like, what do I really want to do? What when I wake up in the morning, what I'm going to be proud of, and it took
exactly.
a while. It takes a while for some people, and it's true. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself and have so many things invested in something you don't want to do for the rest of your life. I mean,
Yeah,
granted, that changes over time too, because I've heard of
no
people
doubt.
that super successful in one business, and then all of a sudden they get not so much burnout, but they get really bored of
Yep.
it because they're already, they broke as many ceilings as they were willing to break. And then I remember watching this, I think it was Shark Tank, the guy that invented Gorilla Glue, that he was on there.
Yep.
And he brought his son. It was a new, I forget what the invention was, but he said he wants to sort of pass off this new invention with one of the Shark Tank guys because he doesn't have it in him anymore. It was like close to
Exactly.
80,
He just wants the
so
time.
yeah. So yeah,
Exactly.
there's only so much time that we have here on Earth, and yeah,
Yeah.
I think you made the better bet because
Yeah. I mean, and looking back, I mean, my first job was recording. I worked for an attorney firm around the corner, real estate attorney firm that I'd go to the town halls, look at see if there were any tax liens before people closed on their house. So kind of
Mhm,
doing almost like a mini, almost like a poor man's title search.
mhm,
And then I did civil engineering, doing the surveying with the rods and the equipment, those
mhm,
tripods on the side of the road.
yep,
And so looking back, a lot of that stuff translates to what I do now,
hmm,
where I can, I'm finding property corners if somebody has a border, issue on the mortgage side of
mhm,
stuff. Or we've had people buy houses that are on the state line, and ever so small slice is actually in Rhode Island and not in Connecticut.
interesting,
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, just kind of, it just all sort of translates. So
mhm,
it worked. I'll say I fell through a lot of cracks in a good way.
mhm,
Like I just happened to be lucky that was my first job, and it translated to this, and then that happened. But there were some other jobs. I scooped ice cream at Michael's Dairy.
mm,
So gave me kind of I tell a lot of people, or I think a lot of people say you should work in customer service, or as like a waiter or waitress, at least for one summer of your
yeah,
life, just
okay,
to understand, how to treat people, and how,
yeah, yeah,
how people want to be treated. So
yeah, was it
definitely.
the, platinum role, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, for Michael,
yeah.
cool,
Yeah, speak to people how they want to be spoken to.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, cool.
definitely.
Alright, so, sort of moving forward with because it's a little different for you, you sort of inherited a business, but it became your business as
Yeah,
uh, your name was written in the lease or whatnot.
yeah,
So what sort of, um, made you take the leap and say, "I think I could do this?" What sort of gave you that power
yeah.
or that oomph?
It really was. I don't know. I mean, I remember my father. So going back to, he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Mm,
and he beat it, and then it actually came back after
mhm,
we'd all thought that it was gone. And one of those last, couple months of his life, I remember like kind of stressing out about this and saying, "Hey, am I going to be good at this?"
Hmm.
And he just very kind of calmly, if anybody that knew him knew he was very just it's kind of like me, monotoned, calm. And he just said, he's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. And just hearing those words, you know, gave me the confidence. And then just knowing background wise, some of those all nighters that I had pulled, there's stuff that I do now in half an hour or an hour that I was here till 1:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
packaging up a file and getting it ready, and all those,
Hmm.
just the earning your keep kind of thing. So where it's
Hmm.
not, while yes, I had a good reputation to follow in.
Hmm.
It was on me to keep the reputation.
Yeah.
I never want to be anybody that, what's the term? Somebody that thinks they hit a triple and were born on third base.
Hmm.
I definitely, I want to say the opposite with me, but it was definitely, um, the confidence. It gave me the confidence to know that I could do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those first 2 years, just like any self-employed person, usually those first 2 years, I was, eating beans out of a can, and some days I
Delicious.
still am, but you know, but you're every day you come in and you put your best foot forward, and you're
Hmm.
helping people with some of the biggest financial decisions they're ever going to make, and
Yeah.
that's what pushes me. Is just there's some clients where you'd mentioned it before about burnout and things like
Hmm.
that. There's some clients where I think about them and I go, not to pat myself on the back, but I would know, helping them with the credit, things like that they wouldn't have gotten into a house if it wasn't for us.
Hmm.
And those are the things where you're just like, what I am doing does make a difference in people's lives,
Hmm.
and translates them from not building wealth to building wealth, almost in
Yeah.
like a forced savings plan with the mortgage.
Yeah.
And maybe they retire one day because of this, help that myself and the real estate agent and everybody involved helped them with, to change the trajectory in life.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. You're really helping lives with
Trying
what
to,
you're doing. That's
instead of a jet engine, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? You could have been on that team making what was it, 748s? Or what
Hmm.
was it? The the ones
Yeah,
that
the
crashed and
Max X or whatever, the Max,
yeah,
yeah, that still hasn't like taken off yet. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll follow some of those like newsletters and read them, and I just go, oh my gosh, these guys, like everybody at Boeing. I have friends at Boeing, super smart
mm,
people, geniuses, and
yeah,
I'm just like, they're just getting dragged through the mud,
yeah,
uh, with what's going on. And you work. Some of those guys have been there 20, 30 years, and
yeah,
the pride that they have. And
mhm,
then something like this hits the news, and they're like, got to put their head in the sand or something. And for me, that's what I like about this is I work hard. I'm making a difference. I don't work hard, I'm not making a difference. Just like
mhm,
what you're doing, and everybody, a lot of people in real estate is, um, yeah, you got to wake up every day and you know
mhm,
uh, put the jacket on and get out there. So,
yeah, cool.
uh,
So as far as getting out there, did you have a clear plan, uh, as or were you just sort of figuring it out as you took the reins to your father's business?
I I had no idea what I was doing. Uh, I mean, I just remember. I mean, there was times where, what was it, 2011, where it was like this. We called it the snowpocalypse. I think it was a big
Mm,
snowstorm, and I had these little, what's it called? I had these, like ice scrapers, like brand with
mhm.
my logo on them. And I was out
Mm.
there like midnight driving through the snow, dropping them off at some real estate offices. Looking back, I'm like, what was I insane? But it was those certain things that helped, um, motivate me and do what other people weren't doing.
Mhm,
Um, but I mean, I had a lot of like chicken scratch of my dad's notes. I kept, finding stuff in the attic of doing this, doing that.
mhm,
A big thing for me is I write thank you notes. Anybody sends a client over,
mhm,
whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's their father, mother, whatever. If
mhm.
they're a past client and I know their address, I'm sending out a thank you note because they're
Yeah.
the ones keeping our doors open. And um, as you have mentioned in the past, just in our talkings, is reviews. We
Mhm,
don't really advertise too much. Um, a big thing is just, if somebody had a great experience, to write a 5-star review, because I know that's how our generation lives and dies these days.
mhm,
But also just, you know the there's no one way to be successful.
Mm,
For me, I want to always, I would love to be successful, and I'm working on it every day. It's not a point that you're at. You're just, every day you're jonesing for it.
mhm.
Um, but also with class. Like, I'm not going to be the guy out there throwing back a bunch of drinks and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm in public. Who knows? I don't know. But it's there's a classy way to do things and a
Mhm.
professional way to do things, and um, because yeah, and you'd also mentioned, like, for me, it's, I want my kids um, to kind of look up to me and go, whether or not he was successful, he was a good human being. He treated people well.
Mhm.
That's success in my life. Is, if I can raise kids that are good humans, and because they have a good role model, then sign me up. So,
Yeah.
not for too many kids. We're two and through. We're good. Yeah.
Got it, got it. Yeah, and, a full disclosure, you did do the mortgage on my house I'm living in right now, and
Yep.
I still get those welcome or congratulation things or, flyers in the mail, and it's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool he's doing that," and then I think to myself, "I gotta start sending out thank you cards
Yeah. Yeah.
for my past clients," but the thing is for me, especially in the wedding industry, a lot of my past clients, they move within a month
Yeah.
from their wedding date, so it's like, it's almost doesn't make sense for me to send it out because 'cause it'll be coming to completely different people. So that's sort of one of my, things I gotta work on, but anyway,
Yeah.
um,
They can't. They sometimes will have at the post office a, like, forwarding address slip,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
send it out, and it comes back, and then you update your database. And I mean, we literally have there. And this is my homework throughout the year. We send out, like, a little holiday
mm.
card. That's the ones that you get.
Yeah, yeah,
Happy
yeah.
holidays.
Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
get those.
these are all the ones that came back. So I got to find out where they live, and that's
Oh, man.
my process every year. And I
Mhm.
think you got the one with Grant and the pumpkin.
Yeah,
And yeah, so every year there's a bunch that always will kick back, and because yeah,
mhm,
same with us. A lot of people that are renting, they get, they move
mhm.
to another place or whatever. So,
That's right. Cool.
but yeah, you guys aren't moving up with that interest rate. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we're still at that 4. We never my only gripe is that we never got that sweet, what was it, 2.9 or 3
Oh yeah.
that came around during COVID, but that was very brief, and we would've had to it would've been a whole what to do because you were probably swamped with that,
And we
with
were
making
doing them,
a stay.
but a lot of times you have to think and go, is it worth paying the closing costs and doing
Yeah.
that math calculation? Anybody, in the fours or below, there's, I
Mhm.
call them golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
You guys aren't selling that house.
Yeah.
And that's what's impacting the housing supply right now, is people want to move, but instead they're just building additions because they don't
Mhm.
want to trade in as you said, a 2.9 for a 7 or a 6 or something. And
Mhm.
um, some people are, but some people, they're forced to,
Yeah.
marriage, divorce,
Yeah,
birth,
yeah.
death, whatever. But um,
Airports.
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah,
That's the only reason why we may move because it's just not they are expanding the airport over here, but within the limit of the fencing around it. But I'm not sure if that's gonna enable larger planes, which my main gripe, aside from the noise, I could get over the noise, is the fumes. And so that's why I
okay,
said Saturday morning, like the weekends, heavy. Like I remember one day I was raking the leaves and I couldn't rake because it was that bad. The fumes just
interesting,
coming up. Just imagine like 10 cars just on idle in front of your house.
yeah.
That's how it smelled.
I wonder if
So that's
they propose to you guys to buy up all the properties around you. Are you going to be like the old guy from Up that had his house and they built,
building the airport around my house.
yeah, hold out for, like, the biggest check or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm waiting for my 2.9 million.
yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody's got a price, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were, some of the biggest challenges you faced early on, with, your business?
Yeah, for me, same as most people that are self-employed, just getting that process down.
Yeah.
Figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work. I'm sure, with you, um, with your industry, there's some things that you're like, I can't believe I did that 10
Mhm,
years ago, in a bad way, or in a good way. For
mhm,
me, just learning, going back to that platinum rule, speaking to people, this is their first house a lot of times. So they
Mhm.
don't know debt to income ratio, LTVs, CHAPA, FHA, DAP, 2 or 3, like
Mhm.
all those weird acronyms. I need to use analogies. The
Mhm.
mortgage is a 30 slice pizza, and you're eating one slice a year, things like that. And just kind of equating it to something that they can relate to, going through the credit scores and the credit reports and things like that. And that was one of the biggest challenges, was probably just, um, well, getting out of the shadow, not in a bad way.
Mhm.
I'm glad that I had that great role model, but
Yeah.
earning my own and
Yeah.
knowing, like, giving that confidence out there, but also just getting the right process down,
Mhm.
and associating with the right people too. When you first start and you're just like, I'll work with anybody. I'll
Yeah.
still work with anybody. Um, I want everyone to be successful, but also realizing who who wants you to be successful too,
Mhm.
and or who are people that are just going to kind of use you and throw you to the wolves when they need to. Um, so that was really, that's probably the hardest part, is just is finding my crew, if you will, if
Mhm.
that's a great
Yeah,
term, I guess.
I'll allow it.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Posse is also acceptable.
yeah, exactly. I got my photography guy right there.
Yeah.
So
Cool,
yeah,
cool. So, was there ever a moment, as you took over, that you wanted to quit? It felt like overwhelming, and if so, what sort of kept you going?
every day, every single day. No, sorry, no, um, not really. I mean, there's definitely moments where it would almost be like the opposite, where I would leave the office, and this is before wife, before kids. Um, I lived 3 miles from my office, and
Mm,
I'd leave the office at 12:30, 1 o'clock, just because I was, just keeping busy, getting people's files, moving them through,
mm,
all that good stuff. And I just remember going like, yeah, this is a career, and not a,
mhm.
what do they always say? A job is like, there's too much time in the day. You look at your watch and you think it's 4 o'clock and it's 9:15. Uh, and then, a career, you look at your watch and you're thinking it's 10 in the morning and it's already 5. And you're like,
Yeah,
where did the day go?
yeah, yeah.
That's what was happening to me. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think I found my calling, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say there's any time that I wanted to quit. Um, there's files where you want to bang your head against the wall, but they will
Yeah,
always close.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of part of the business, is,
yeah.
again, you're helping people with something they've never done before. There's going to be some hurdles, there's going to be some bumps, and we try to smooth them out, and keep it moving, and keep the
Mhm.
curtain as much as possible so that they don't see all the chaos going on behind it.
Mm.
But that's probably the biggest,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I guess that you mentioned it. Not that I'd wanted to quit, but when we were McHugh Mortgage way back in the day,
Mhm,
and then we kind of got absorbed into homestead funding
mhm,
voluntarily. But it was one of the greatest things. But just to know, we they had this program, we wanted it, and um, it's really like doubled our business and really streamlined it for clients, DocuSign, all that. But it's just those adjustments. When you have something big in the industry, there's uh, there's always like a growing pain to that. In 2015, most mortgage people remember TRID, where there's a whole new, it used to be called the good faith estimate. Now it's a loan estimate. Instead of the
mm,
HUD closing document, it's now the closing disclosure. And just
mm,
getting through those growing pains, those are the times where you're just like, I've turned kind of points where some people might want to quit into points where I'm not making myself stronger. But like, even in this market right now, it's harder
mhm.
for a lot of people to qualify for buying a house. Some people might say, hey, you know what, I'll throw in the towel. And for me, I look at it and I go, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to grow the
Yeah,
business, prove myself to help people buy where they might not have been able to. Um,
yeah,
so, I
yeah.
mean, have you run into that, or points where you wanted to throw in the towel?
Every day. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, the same, like, I'm in several industries, so, most of the people that, uh, know me, they know I do, photography for real estate, corporate, video for real estate and corporate, and, video for weddings, and also recently, photography for weddings. Um, there are days when you're on such a high because everything's you're getting aces, everything's,
Yeah.
perfect, everything's awesome, biggest client you ever had, they love your work, the completed product, they love it, everything goes well. Then once in a while, you
Yeah.
you get lowballed. You say yes to the lowball because you need to pay your mortgage or whatever, and
Yeah.
you make all these business dealings that you think are going to go well, and they don't pan out. But that's sort of part of business, learning what works, what doesn't work, learning that there are amazing clients, and learning what clients are probably not going to be the best for you, and
Yep.
learning how to say no is, I think, one of the biggest skills in business,
Yeah.
um, because there are people that, quite honestly, are trying to scam you in in business, and that goes both for it can be for other business owners as well as uh, clients trying to get your bottom dollar, and then they're gonna scrape you for all you're worth, kind of thing
Yeah.
um,
You
with
brought
your
up
skill set.
a good point where
Yeah.
the one of the like little Phil Turnerisms over my father over the years, he had said, don't go for the home run, just keep
Mm,
hitting singles, they'll
mhm,
turn into runs. And some people want to be the real estate agent or the mortgage guy that does the $2 million mortgages. I
mhm,
frankly would rather have the people that are not doing the $2 million because they have the $2 million personalities.
mm.
And I'd
Yeah.
rather have the people buying their first house, they appreciate it.
Mhm.
We get thank you notes, like who, from clients, like who's writing a thank you note to their mortgage guy, and
You are. You are.
yeah, yeah. And so it's like, though yeah, I mean, that's where we run into those, some of those days too, where you're just like, yeah, you hit some of those lows and you want to throw in the towel, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's part of being a business owner. We avoid,
Yeah.
what is it? We work 80 hours to avoid working 40-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
But then, what's the term? It's the low lows that keep you reminiscing of the high highs,
Yep.
and it's par for the course. And it's like I've gone through my own seasons to know that um, uh, tomorrow is another day,
Yeah.
and the sun will come out tomorrow, kind of thing. Not to sing the whole song, but
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, you
yeah,
can't enjoy the highs without having you can't enjoy the good things in life without knowing how the bad things were, the
yeah.
bad things. Um, Otherwise, everything would just, your goods would just be normal, Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
mm,
so getting out of the proverbial corner conversation with tears in my eyes.
yeah.
Did you ever have any mentors or community that you're part of, or unexpected support along the way as you're growing your
Yeah,
business?
I've had the blessing of having a lot of what I kind of call moms and dads.
Mm,
Um, I'm part of New London Rotary, so there's a lot of people in there. There's just real estate kind of, I'll call them moms and dads, where they gave me a shot, or that attorney
mm,
that I had worked for way back in the day in like ninth grade, 10th grade. Um, when I first started, he kind of took me under his wing and he goes, "Hey, do that again. Don't do that again."
mm,
I think one of the big mistakes I had done when I first thought I was doing a good thing, is I had sent the appraisal over to the listing agent too.
mm.
Anybody in real estate more than 2 days realizes you don't tell the seller's side what the appraised value,
Yeah.
was. And so he's like, "Yeah, you may not want to ever do that again." Um, but luckily, it just, so it was there's a lot of, just like, you are with your kids, where you want them to do well, you want them to fail,
Mhm.
because then they know how to get up and do well. But you want to be a little bit of like a backstop. You don't
Mhm.
want them to fail so bad that they, like, it's detrimental to,
Yeah.
their success in life.
The
But
core.
you want them to trip a little bit and figure it out themselves. And that attorney, he's since passed away, but he really, you know he's one that I would kind of say is like, he was almost like Master Splinter, the Teenage
Mm.
Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Shifu.
the wise sage of real estate law. Everybody kind of looked up to him. A lot of the other attorneys did as well.
Mhm.
And then just in this industry, I'd say most of the mortgage people out there, we all our biggest competition is the big guys, the Rocket Mortgages, the
Mhm.
the Goliaths. Um, but for most of us around here, we all play well in the sandbox. And
Hmm.
I call up one guy and I say, hey, did you run across this ever? So, and same thing happens to me. And um,
Hmm.
we all kind of have our specialties. And um, and so I wouldn't say they're mentors, but we're all kind of like each other's supporting cast, if you will.
Hmm.
Um,
It's
yeah, I
good
mean,
to
like
have.
just like you, like you can't be the only photography guy out there ever. You
No,
wouldn't want to be.
no,
So you have the people that if you can't do a job, hey, call this person, somebody I trust, things like
yeah,
that. So
yeah. I built my lists during COVID,
yep,
because I had to, out of necessity, uh, because it was either build my list and send out contractors or give up, you know, I don't know, $60,000 or more
well,
in weddings, in refunds and everything like that. That wasn't gonna happen. I'd rather, hire out and then hired, editing company and everything
yep,
like that. But, what are some of the just to show your expertise a little bit, what are some of the things to look out for, like, with, uh, uh I don't want to say scams and mortgages, but some of the things pitfalls that some people would fall into when having misconceptions about getting a mortgage or buying a house, kind of thing.
yeah, that's huge. Great question. Is um, everybody thinks you need a giant down payment.
Hmm.
You really don't. The more money you have saved, the better, obviously. Just like nobody ever bought a house and wished they had less money in the bank when they did it.
Hmm.
But there's down payment assistance programs. There's we kind of help facilitate this program through the state through CHFA called Time to Own, which is this. I don't want to call it free 25,000, but it's a forgivable 0% loan. So it's in a weird way like a grant.
Hmm.
So that takes care of closing costs, attorney fees, all that stuff. But you still want to have your, some money for your inspection and appraisal. So you really don't need as much as you think you need. A lot of times you can get away with having as much as you would have needed for first months and security deposit for rental.
Hmm.
Uh, Another thing people think is, okay, I haven't been at my job long enough. You don't, depending on what you do, you don't necessarily have to be there as long as people think. And then the credit side of things, that's a huge part where we ideally like to think of myself as separating myself from the crowd is when the first part of home buying is that pre-qualification. Like when we met years ago,
Hmm.
ran the numbers, with a lot of clients, excuse me, a lot of clients, you're sitting there going, okay, pay this card down, call this collection company, do this, wait 30 days, let the report refresh. And then before you know it, some people come in, they don't have any credit, which is
Hmm.
actually better than bad credit. You're a great student, it's just not getting reported. And so we have clients that go out, we give them that game plan. They come back in
Yeah.
4 months, 5 months, they've got a 700 credit score. They're in the house
Hmm.
by July.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas some people would have just thrown in the towel. So it's I guess the big misnomers are you you think your credit's not good enough, or you don't have any credit, you don't have enough saved, you haven't been in your job long enough. Those are the big things I tell everybody. If you hear that, that's prime candidate for home buying. They might be a little bit ways out. I never tell anybody, no, you can't buy a house. It may be
Hmm.
a not yet, but we need to do this, and you'll be good in 3 months, 2 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
Um, those are those are probably the biggest things.
Got it. Got it. I wanted to ask, thank you so much for watching this podcast. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you're watching this or listening to this so that we can continue to bring these quality business owners telling their stories and bringing you the content that you so crave. Now, let's get back to this interview. Similar to, I don't know, it probably doesn't make sense. I'll say it anyway. I'll edit it out. But were there any kind of scams in mortgages that I guess that were happening or are happening now with I'm thinking about like the you know Nigerian prince kind of scams for
Yeah,
mortgages. Are there any like that happening?
yeah, we've seen. There was one that was sent around the real estate community. They call it ECAR, the Eastern Connecticut Association of Realtors, where usually your attorney is going to be the one that tells you the final number that you're bringing to the closing.
Mm,
They're going to say, "Hey, bring a check made out to Turner Law LLC for X amount, and we'll
mhm,
see you at Tuesday at 3." Um, sometimes you're wiring that money. In
Hmm.
most places you're not going to wire money unless like you can't get to your bank in enough time before the closing.
Hmm.
And I remember the situation. What was it? That it was a what would they say that the attorney had sent the email saying, "Hey, wire X amount," and it was their email address was like, for example, we'll just say, um, Keith at turnerlaw.com, but it was
Hmm.
really Keith at turnerlavv.com.
Hmm.
And that client had almost wired the money because the
Wow.
person had been watching these emails and
Hmm.
gave a number that was sort of in the ballpark of what would be uh, uh, correct. And so
Wow.
that person would have theoretically, the attorney caught it and
Hmm.
everything was good. And but they still almost like they still were like, no, you're telling me to wire this, and the attorney's like, no, that's not me. Don't
Yeah.
wire the money. But they would have lost their house because they wouldn't have
Hmm.
the money, and they would have lost their 5,000 or something dollars. Um, you know, it's those sort of things. I tell every client, we put it in a lot of emails. There's really about 4 times you're writing payments throughout the process. Your
Hmm.
deposit, inspection, appraisal, and if you're bringing a big check to the closing, the
Hmm.
big guy.
Yeah.
I tell every client, call the when the attorney calls you to say, hey, this is your final number. Google them. Don't just look at one of the emails with the phone number. Google them. Call them back and just say, hey, just want to confirm I just talked to you, and confirm that number again, because I'd rather you look stupid than you lose 5, 10, $50,000.
Yeah.
I think there was a story on the other side of the state where somebody had lost, it was like $800,000 or something,
Wow.
and it was just when you wire that money's gone. Like there's no
Yeah.
like undo button, Control Z, uh,
Yeah.
you know. So I tell most people we usually try to advise the clients to get a bank check. That's you're
Hmm.
holding it,
Yeah.
you're bringing it into closing. Sometimes you have to wire, but you always want to triple check those wire instructions.
Yeah.
Other than that, on our end, it's not really fraud or scams, but once you close on the house, you probably remember this. You're
Hmm.
getting that mortgage life insurance stuff in the mail. You're getting like 5 pieces a day.
Hmm.
It's legitimate. I mean, mortgage life insurance is a thing,
Hmm.
but a lot of times, like if you were to pass away, your spouse may just, I don't want to say sell the house, but you owe less than what the house is worth. So you're never going to be in a position, you wouldn't be in a position to go into foreclosure.
Yeah.
So you could do it, but it's just an extra, I
Yeah.
don't know, let's say cost, so there's things
Yeah.
like that. But we usually will send out a lot of emails to clients throughout the process, just saying,
Hmm.
hey, if this comes up, just know we're never going to
Hmm.
email you with wire instruction. Always give us a call. And
Yeah.
again, who knows with AI if somebody's going to mimic my voice one of these days, but
Yeah.
uh, it's going to be
This is
pretty
all
easy because
AI, actually. I'm not really here, Keith.
I know. Yeah, yeah, exactly. My voice is pretty monotone, so it's probably pretty. Who knows? I may be an AI as
Yeah.
well. There's just two computers talking to each other right
Yeah.
now. So, yeah.
Cool. Um, so how did your personal life change after you started in this mortgage industry?
It basically didn't exist anymore. No.
Mm.
So, uh, there was a couple years where I had to just kind of, the business was the partner, and um, you know, I think I didn't want to fail, and that's what pushed me so much that I was like, I can't fail at this. There's too much, not too much riding on it, but I put a lot of pressure on myself,
Yeah.
and it impacted relationships. As expected, and then I kind of just hit my stride with the process and everything, and was like, okay, now I can sort of have a semblance of some sort of personal life,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, ran into or was hanging out with a friend, and I dated my now wife eight,
Mhm.
10 years ago, 10 years before, and we'd broken up, kind of gone our separate ways, in a good way, like built ourselves professionally, and then I happened to be in town and said, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And it was like time didn't even stop. It was like we just picked up right where we left off, and
Awesome.
um, I owe a lot to her now.
Mhm.
She's you know she's great, and really, um, she's what's the word, um, the person behind the curtain, keeping everything smooth.
Mm.
So But yeah,
Yeah, that's so we're gonna cut this part right here, send it to your wife just to say, we talked about you. But
yeah,
anyway, but yeah, that's true that you sort of see as you get older, you sort of start seeing those, I guess, eternal truths or those behind the curtain truths where it's like you see a man that's truly smiling, really happy. He's like, oh, he probably has a really good woman, really takes care of him, stuff like that.
yeah. What is they? It's kind of sexist, but
Mm,
behind the head, the man may be the head of the household, but the wife is the neck, and she can turn the head whichever way she wants.
yeah,
Um, Same, sort of. I don't know if that kind of
I've
translates,
heard
but
that.
yeah, it's for me. My wife's. I don't want to say she's never been wrong, but she very often has uh, a good vantage point of looking at
Mhm,
things, a good perspective. And I'll
mhm.
say, you know what? I never really thought of it that way. And 99 times out of 100, we'll go that way. Or she'll be like, yeah, you look like an idiot when you said that, which is probably what's going on right now.
That's love. That's love.
And yeah, and then and I go, okay, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, So,
It's all
um,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, more times out of not, it's my frustration sometimes. So, give you a little bit information that I couldn't disclose publicly. My wife, she has 2 bachelor degrees. She
mhm,
did go to school to be an engineer,
yep,
and then she decided to get another degree in early childhood education. So
yep,
she's a teacher now. And so she's very smart. And
yeah,
so 9 times out of 10, she's usually right about certain things, and I'm upset that
yep,
she's always right about a lot of things. Not that I'm wrong, it's just I think differently as a creative. Not
yep,
that she's not creative, she's creative in her own way, but, uh, that's why I do believe, uh, men and women, that are married and everything in relationships, they sort of fit, together, uh quite properly,
yin
especially
and
the
yang,
ones.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially the ones that are quite opposite from each other. It
yep,
sort of fits if you find your niche,
yeah,
if you find your groove in that relationship.
yep,
It's been working. We're only 10 years, almost 11 years in. We're still learning.
yeah,
It's amazing how things progress in that. But talking about business,
yeah,
um, how as the hype of business wore off, with mortgages are exciting, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden, they're not so exciting anymore. How do you sort of keep it rolling for you?
It's just yeah, keeping it exciting for me or for clients. I mean,
Mhm,
nowadays, if you're buying a house, you're probably going to be, you want to buy a house now because it's going to keep appreciating. And so
yeah.
that's the conversation we've had now is buy now because you'll eventually refinance the loan and get, the I can't stand the cliche term, but a lot of people would say, marry the house, date the rate. I
Mhm.
just makes my skin crawl when people say that, but again, that's a good analogy.
True.
Where you're only going to keep this mortgage for a couple of years. When the rates come down, you just refinance. But if
Mhm,
you waited, then went till the rates drop, then when you come back into the market with everybody else, the home prices are going to get pushed higher because there's
mhm,
more demand. And so that's the conversation we're having with a lot of people nowadays is think of this long term. You don't want to be buying a house if you're just going to be in there for 2 years. This is you don't want to be buying something that's going to be more of a long term investment. And that long term could be 5 years,
mhm,
but you don't want to just be like uh, midterm flipping, if you will. Like so, uh, that part, and then just yeah, just the education. I'm a big education kind of guy. The more as a buyer about the
mhm,
process, the more comfortable you're going to be with understanding this. It's always going to be better than renting.
mhm,
I don't say always as a generalization, but most of the time it'll be better than renting.
mhm.
And and there's some pride to it. It's yours. The house may be a
Yeah.
mess. I don't know, that room behind you might be a mess, but it's your mess, right?
Yes.
Nobody can take that away from you, well,
It's
as long as you
functional.
keep paying the mortgage. But yeah, so I mean that's the thing that keeps me moving is knowing that we are making a difference. Um, we've had clients go to the closing, and then when they come, they leave the closing, they come back to our office and giving us a hug. Again, at the end of the day, we're a financial place. Like,
Mhm,
when do you hear people giving the mortgage guy a hug?
mhm.
And that's when when you have those rough days, as we were saying before. Those are the good days that make it all worth it. And you go, you know what? We are making we are making a difference. Um, yeah, I mean, because the rates these days aren't helping us,
Mhm.
but
What is
big
it at now?
picture,
It's like 7?
roughly around there. Yeah, it depends on what
Yeah.
type of loan, investment,
Okay.
all that stuff. Um, but yeah, it's allowed us to get a lot more creative.
Mhm.
So um, we were running into a big issue with a lot of VA buyers where they couldn't buy a house, or they weren't getting their offers accepted because of their loans a little bit more strict with the conditions of the property. So we
Mhm.
had created an in-house type of loan that kind of skips the VA guidelines with the house quality, and it really
Mhm.
helped move a lot of those military people back to the top of the pile where they should be. And so it just really, it made us not be lazy and
Mhm.
get creative to figure out what's going to be the best loan for somebody's situation, and also to help them get the house too.
Mhm.
So that was a those are some of the fun days, as we were sort of saying before, earning your keep
Yeah.
and getting through the grit stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And what kind of mindsets sort of helped you, get through those rough times? Are there any I don't know, mantras that you go through? Um
yeah,
or
big one for me is like I've got the cup. Actually, I've got it here. It's a little old cup, but this one was JFK. I was saying, one person can make a difference, and everyone should try.
Mhm.
That was one, and then the other one was this too shall pass.
Mhm.
When you have good days, just remember, they're not always going to be good days, so enjoy it. This too shall pass. And
Mhm.
when you have those rough days, just remember it's not going to be, keeps you out of depression. You're not. This isn't going to be forever. This too shall pass.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that really allows me to kind of soak up those good moments with my son and my wife. And if I'm not having such a great moment with a terrible two toddler, just know it's not going to be forever.
Yeah.
He's, you know, he's not doing it on purpose. Um, so, but same thing with the business. You have those rough days. You're like, you know what, you know, tomorrow's another day.
Yeah. That's good. And then how has your definition of success changed since you started, throughout the years and watching your
Yeah,
dad grow the business, and then, then you took over, and then you sort of peek behind the curtain and like, oh, this is what it's all about. And then,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, at first, it was, how many families can I help, and
Mhm.
that's still basic, the base of it, the foundation of it. Um, Obviously, you want to, financially, you want to do as well as you can.
Mhm.
But now it's kind of what we were saying before. It's I want to associate myself with people that I want my kid to think of as good role models.
Mhm.
And if I raise him, and the second kid, we call him Baby Grant because we have Grant, and then we got the second one. We don't know his name yet, so we'll call
Oh,
him
yeah.
Baby Grant. Um, have the two of them, uh, you know, know that their dad was associated with the good ones,
Mhm.
and there was actually a mortgage guy. He became a real estate agent. Somebody had asked him that question, and he had said, "If I raise my kid not to be, you know, fill in the swear word there, um, that's a level of success. It's not so
Yeah.
much money or anything. It's, do I still have enough time to go to every t-ball game and pick them
Mhm.
up from daycare, things like that? Then I'm successful in life. If I get to have time to spend with my family, and I'm raising a kid or two kids that are um, contributing to society positively,
Yeah.
I'll wear that award every single day. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say success is what you make of it. Success is different, from if you have 5 different people in a room, success is gonna look 5 different ways,
Yep.
for them. For some, it's money, for some, it's family, for some, it's, power.
Yeah.
For me, I would say, same as you, a job well done. I don't currently have children right now, but, when or if I adopt or have children, yeah, that would be a form of success having children.
Yeah.
For some people, they can't help not to have children. They have 8, and they're trying not to have number 9, but here it is.
Yeah.
And so
We have a traveling basketball team at that point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Traveling baseball team, all that stuff. But yeah, job well done, I guess starting new business ventures and then the business venture being successful. This
Yeah.
is sort of like a business venture with the podcast, but it's creatively done, as a full-time creative. And this is sort of what the industry is going towards, as it pertains to video production and interviews. Me being a full-time filmmaker and photographer and everything like that, it just made sense.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of this podcast is uh, capturing the conversations I'm already having with business owners, and then just elaborating on it and sharing with other people so they could get a better sense of uh, business, and then different aspects of businesses, and then uh, what what it's really all about. And then yeah, you can do it too, because we're all
Yeah.
flawed. No one here is perfect. No one here has the golden ticket, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some do, like
Yeah.
Michael Collin. uh
Yeah. 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 Hey,
but
he's part of that team. I can't
yeah,
do my job somewhat without him. He's
yeah,
fantastic insurance guy too. And
yeah.
yeah.
He says he's nervous with a straight face and a smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, success is what you make of it, and it could look differently throughout the year, for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh,
There was a big it took me a long time to realize, again, it's not what you know, it's who you know, sort
mhm,
of like I'm extremely confident in my abilities of doing a mortgage
mhm,
and helping people, guide them through the process. But if nobody likes me, then that's not going to get me anywhere.
yeah,
And vice versa. I could know everybody in the world, but if
mhm,
I'm horrible at my job,
mhm,
you gotta be able to trust and like the person. And
yeah,
and so it took me a long time to realize that it's yes, I've got pretty big big leg up math wise with the engineering, but
mhm,
um, I need to know the right insurance person, the right real estate agents, the
mhm,
right photography person, um, the attorneys,
mhm,
inspectors, things like that. We're very fortunate in southeastern Connecticut where there really isn't anybody bad.
mhm.
There's great. We're almost an influx of or overflowing of great real estate agents, and I'm not just saying that because they send me business, but they are just very, the association is very good at educating,
Yeah,
and so you're working with a lot of people that you want to work with, as opposed to
yeah,
just like, I need a paycheck, like what you had said with the
mhm,
taking the lowest hanging fruit. um, but a lot of times, you're in any business, you're helping somebody uh, get through something that you're helping somebody do something that they want to do,
mhm,
like photography for a wedding, or I'm helping them with a mortgage. It's not about me, it's about me helping them get a house. That's what they're trying to accomplish, and I'm just an intermediary with that.
mhm,
So the yeah, for me, it's really just trying to do it in the most streamlined way for them, smooth, at least in their vantage point, and guide them through one of the bigger decisions they're going to make. But yeah.
mhm. It's awesome. Now, talking about real talk or
Yeah.
whatnot, have you ever had to shut down something in your business or walk away from a new and shiny business venture aside from mortgages, or even within your mortgage business?
Not so much within the business, but I've learned what's worked, what hasn't worked, marketing wise.
Mhm,
Again, we don't do much in the way of like true true marketing. We
mhm,
just like to collaborate a lot with agents, help them grow their business, and that usually ends up growing our business. But
mhm,
um, yeah, I mean, there's times where I've had to, I don't want to say fire clients, but
mhm.
I mean that in a good way, where I will help you, and I will die on the hill to help you get into a house. Just don't be the one shooting the bullets.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we will, and that's something I have to get better at. Is I will stay late to help somebody, get to where they need to be and return those emails and get those phone calls back
Yeah.
at the sacrifice sometimes of, my family. Um, and that's what I have to get a little bit better at, is running the business, not letting the business run me sometimes.
Mhm,
Uh, but there are some clients where they are they'll walk over you, and you kind of have to
mhm.
say, hey, I'm willing to help you, but I'm also a human.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and there's some clients that, I'm not the right cup of tea, and I would love to be everybody's cup of tea, but
Hmm.
um, I can't. So I'm sure you've run into that probably
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are times when, like I said before, there came close to
Mhm.
firing perspective. No, I have. I just don't. Yeah, no names. But
Yeah.
there, there have been times wherein I was like, I can't work with you. This isn't going to
Yeah.
work out. I could refer you, but then it's like, do I really want to refer
Yeah.
this person to someone else? It's like, I'm sure you're going to find somebody. Take care.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like that's one of the biggest things, like I said before, is learning how to say no, recognizing the earmarks of a nightmare uh,
Yeah.
that's soon to come if you don't take care of it. I mean, there are times when you just need to sit down a client and say, hey, like you said, I'm a human. You can't be talking to me this way.
Yeah.
I'm here to do business. I understand that you have a price point, or I understand that you have a vision of what you're looking to do, but we need to work at this together. Having
Exactly.
those, big boy conversations, and then hopefully they'll come to and like, oh yeah, sorry, just then most times out of 9 times out of 10, they're going through stuff.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
I feel it for real estate agents and how sometimes like we talked about before, the reasons why they're selling the home is because of a divorce, because
Yep.
of a death in the family, because of something else, and then unfortunately they treat the agent like trash, and it's because they don't know how to deal with what is still fresh,
Exactly.
and then I feel for some agents and how they have to be part part agent, part counselor
Yeah.
to these people who are
Therapist.
trying to console them. Yeah, therapist, and like, and how does that make you feel? In
Yeah.
order
Yeah.
to be able to not to seal a deal, but to sell the house that they want them to sell it properly.
Yeah. I mean, a
Um,
lot of times that, a lot of people obviously want to sell their house for as much as they possibly can, but
mm,
the real estate agents, they'll got to walk them through. Okay, is it worth it? Just it might be worth to sacrifice this to have a smoother process because you need it to
mhm,
close a little bit quicker, or maybe time isn't as much of a concern. So maybe this
mhm,
type of and having that great agent,
yeah,
representing you when you're selling a house and buying a house, as you're saying, therapist.
mhm,
Because sometimes we're going to give them a list of documents that we need, and then we keep giving another list because those documents spurred another thing.
yeah,
And sometimes the clients are like,
very
"Man,
much.
what's going on?" And they got to have somebody to vent to.
Mm,
Um, but again, we try to prepare. Going back to that education thing, the more
mhm,
I can educate you before you're under contract on that house, the more we can
mhm,
get done beforehand, the smoother the process is. And so that was, I guess, one of the other things. Going back to that mentor, I had a mentor that said, you're in the business of controlling expectations.
mm,
If you do wedding photography and you're like, hey, I'll get this out by the end of, you do it on a Sunday. Hey, I'll get it out to you by Friday, and you get it out by
mm,
Tuesday. Oh my gosh, this guy was great. If
yeah,
you say,
yeah,
hey, I'm going to get it out to you by the end of the night, and you get it out on Tuesday,
mm,
oh my gosh, you're the worst person to ever
yeah,
work
yeah,
with,
yeah.
Um, so,
Under
um,
promise, over deliver.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And just kind of, yeah, just controlling those expectations of like, this is when we're going to need this, and just kind of lay out that race they're about to run.
yeah,
So when the punch does happen, they were ready for it.
yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. And what kind of what did those experiences of failure sort of teach you, even about yourself or about the industry itself?
Yeah. I'm a big. I pride myself on when I give up that pre-qualification. When I first started, I had done a pre-qualification letter, and the person actually didn't qualify, and they were looking at houses for a little bit. This is decades ago, and
Mm,
so they wasted some time. Luckily, they didn't spend money on an inspection and appraisal, so they dodged that bullet. But they didn't qualify, and I had to kind of talk to myself and be like, if you give out that letter, it needs to be gold. Like, you're only as good as your reputation,
yeah.
and that's that's kind of, I don't say that's advice that I'd give my past self, but like, tripping helped me helped me run better now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and that's kind of what helped me
Mhm.
out. Yes.
And then how do you deal with fear, doubt, or like burnout, like we talked about before? Are there any kind of mantras, or you go back to your mentors, conversations?
Yeah, just put my head in the sand and cover my ears. No,
Yeah,
um, so no,
done.
the with fear and stuff. A lot of times the fear is because you don't know something, or you don't
Hmm.
know about something. So
Yeah.
if I'm, if I'm like, oh, I don't know if this person qualifies, I've got a whole team of underwriters that I can just call and lean on and be like, hey, I haven't really run across this scenario. What do you think? And they'll say, oh yeah, you can do this, this, this. And
Hmm.
there's the solution.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say that I'm not fearful of anything, but the that helped me like negate some of the doubt. And then the burnout, I beat myself up a lot. Oh man, we should be having more business, or
Hmm.
because you're always going to compare yourself to how you were last year, the year before, or whatever.
Hmm.
And then you realize you were still doing better than nine of the people out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're all not doing as much business as everybody was doing in 2020, 2021.
Hmm. Oh God,
Um,
too much
so that
business.
that yeah, I mean that's where I'm not really, people say, who's your biggest competition or whatever. For me, it's who I was last year and the year
Hmm.
before. I'm always trying to grow the business. And as we said before, I want to run this business instead of let it run me,
Hmm.
and streamline that, and return those phone calls as quick as I can, return those emails as quick as I can. While we're sitting here, I'm seeing them pop up in the bottom of
Yeah.
the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but again, I've surrounded myself with a great team so
Yeah.
that if I do uh, have to step out for an hour, somebody's,
Hmm.
I have my team picking up the ball and running with it, and communicating, and making
Hmm.
sure the clients are well taken care of.
That's good. And then looking back, what kind of advice would you give your past self?
Yeah,
Young Keith.
yeah, just keep sticking with it, and learn. I had waited a long time to get my real estate, my mortgage license in other states.
Mhm.
I wish I had done it sooner. It was a
Mhm.
lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
In engineering, they kind of teach you how to take tests well,
Mhm.
and so um, I was always Connecticut, and some clients would hop over into Rhode Island, and I'd say, oh yeah, I work with this person. Got that real estate license in Rhode Island and New York, Florida,
Mhm.
really all over Pennsylvania. With my background, my undergrad was out in Pittsburgh, so I have a couple friends
Mhm.
out there. And the guidelines really are not that much different from state to state. It's all the same
Mhm.
types of loans, just maybe New York has a little bit more closing costs, or
Mhm.
Rhode Island's a little bit this or that. And the I wish I didn't scare myself out of getting those licenses earlier on. That's what I would tell another mortgage person is, get your license in all the other states. It doesn't, it's going to cost a little bit more. You got to take the tests.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, taking the tests were, that was kind of the easy part. Is having done it for so long, I guess also
Yeah.
helped because I knew the rules and the guidelines, and the waiting periods and all that stuff. But um, yeah, I guess that was my only other thing would be, just grow that Rolodex of good people. Surround yourself with good people, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Uh, Everybody that you work with wants to see you do well.
Mhm.
Some people don't want to. They want to see you do well, but just not as well as them. Um, but no. But the if you got some great real estate agents or great whatever, partners, collaborators, if you
Mhm.
will, in any industry, you surround yourself with them. Then um, it's that cliche of show me your friends and I'll
Mhm.
show you your values.
Yeah.
Um, that's probably my biggest. What I wish I didn't take it all on myself and beat
Mhm.
myself up so much earlier on
Yeah.
to kind of, yeah, basically, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the kind of things that you take on. It's part of growing up
part of growing.
in
Yeah,
business,
exactly.
growing pains. It's like the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you get over as the more mistakes you make. So it's sort of like the trial by fire. I invite that
Yep.
because it puts you on a faster trajectory to where you really want to go.
Yeah.
Instead of, being super cautious and like, I'm not sure, who knows, should I be doing this? Is this the right step for me? And I, for the most part, trailblaze a lot of
Yeah.
things, in my business without really knowing 100%. And I make it, what is it, that most successful people are the ones that make the most mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're willing to make the mistakes in order to make those
And you learn
ventures
from it.
successful. Yeah.
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 You don't want to just make mistakes and make them again. Like
Yeah.
I tell clients, I've my colleague that works here. I said,
Mhm.
it's okay making a mistake. A lot of stuff
Yeah.
that we can do, we can hit the undo button on the computer.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah,
um,
especially for
it
me.
just don't make the mistake twice.
Yeah.
So, um, but but yeah, I mean that's that I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
Is just um, that would like there's some other mortgage people that were like, how did you get through that type of loan?
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I screwed up probably a couple times way back when and learned
Yeah.
about it. And now we
Mhm.
know we can do this, this, this. And they're like, wow, that was,
Mhm.
yeah, you trail, as you said, trailblaze that path.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Then what's one or a couple, you probably have a handful, of misconceptions people have about starting or running a business?
Just a business in general.
Yeah, business in general, or life business, balancing or whatnot.
Yeah. Just getting that system down, getting
Yeah.
that process down. Going back with mortgages,
Mhm.
whether somebody's getting a $50,000 mortgage or a $1 million mortgage, it's pretty much the same process.
Mhm.
Tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs. So getting that process down and controlling those expectations is probably the first thing. You're not going to make $1 million on day one, kind of analogy, but
Mhm.
um, you know a lot of the agents, a lot of people that I work with, the attorneys, when the appraisal comes in, it's a lot of times the same email that I send out with a different dollar amount or a different this. And I'm saying, hey, this is the next point in the process, client. And so getting that way, they know where we are on our end so that they can kind of start doing their stuff. And just, getting a process. If you don't have if you don't have a process, then you're you're starting from scratch, on with every single client,
Yeah.
and you're going to drive yourself nuts. You're going to pull out your hair. So I'm losing a little bit of it. I don't know.
A little bit.
That might be the kid, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Angela fixed that right up.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Cool. How has this journey changed who you are as a person?
Giving me more patience, if you will.
Mhm.
I joke around that I've got a long fuse, but when it goes out, watch out.
Bang.
And it's allowed me. It translated into being a dad. Where Grant, again, it gives me that extra little patience that I might need. Where if he's poking and prodding, and you want to just be like, kid, just stop. I
Mhm.
sit there and I go, you know what? He's not doing this on purpose. Just like some clients, they can drive you nuts sometimes, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Um, but you sit there and you go, hey, you're helping them.
Mhm.
They're doing you a favor by walking into your office to get their
Yeah.
mortgage or to photography or video or anything.
Mhm.
Um, and it just gives you that extra little bit. So clients really helped me with being a dad and and getting out in front of some issues that might come down the road with kids. And
Mhm.
um, so I mean that would be my only advice is you know everything kind of translates into everything.
Yeah.
I look at a lot of my clients as as my kids. I know a
Mhm.
lot of clients way in the past had said, your father kind of treated me like their own son,
Uh,
and I was just lucky enough to have him as a dad, as my
yeah.
dad.
Mhm.
Um, but he kind of had this calm to him. He calmed the waters, lift the heads up above the water. We're going to get through it. Just keep
Mhm.
staying with it. And
Just keep
so home
swimming.
buying, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Home buying is not always easy,
Mhm.
or else everybody would be doing it.
Mhm.
And, I'm giving those people the confidence to get through a process they've never done before. And um, the same thing with me. This first time being a dad, so I take as much advice as I can get, and I'm on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other side of the table basically in this. So that's where it has changed me as a person. So
yeah.
and learned how to put while the business is always top of mind. I have a wife and a kid, and
Mhm.
uh, and people understand that. They
Mhm.
say, hey, I got a question for you. When you have a moment, can you give me a call back? As opposed to,
Mhm.
I need this in the next 5 seconds, and
Yeah.
so um, yeah.
Cool. Any other stories that you would want to share Not so much, possibly a cautionary tale or something that really helped you in growing or starting your business.
Uh, not not on the air. No. The, I would say, yeah. Let me think about that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no real stories. Just don't be afraid of making mistakes, and
Mhm.
just don't make them enough that it costs other people money or
Mhm.
costs other people. Um, it's detrimental to their time, their money, their whatever, their business.
Yeah.
Um, but learning from mistakes, I mean, that's really the only uh,
Mhm.
um, story. That's the general gist of any of these stories would be
Mhm.
for me would be make the mistake, learn from it, and move on.
Yeah.
Um, I take for me, I mean a couple of the real estate agents that I work with a lot, and they know me. I take it personally. If
Mhm.
somebody we very rarely have a client's file that doesn't get approved, and that's a big you know feather in my cap. Is if I tell you you're good to buy a house, you're going to close on that house. You're going to be fine.
Mhm.
I can't control the inspection or the
Yeah.
appraisal, things like that. But very rarely does a file, quote unquote, crash and burn.
Mm.
And the um, yeah, that's my only advice. Is you're only as good as what you promise to clients, and
Mhm.
so there are sometimes for me where I say, hey, you know what? Give me to the end of the day. I'm going to find out the right answer. I'll see if
Mhm.
we can find a way around this. And um, yeah, I mean that would be my advice to anybody starting out on their own is just get mentors, get surround yourself with people that want to see you do well, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Good advice. So what's next for you, Keith? Are you having any events, or what are you writing a book, or what's up for you?
Um, mm, yeah, no, not definitely not writing a book. The
Mortgages and you? No?
Yeah, mortgages for dummies by dummies. No, um, the for me, well, we have our second child coming in October, so
Woo!
super blessed with
Congrats.
that.
Yeah.
And as you said before, it's very fortunate for that.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, really, it's just nothing really coming up. I'm turning 40 in a
Mhm.
couple months, so
Congrats.
uh, I don't know. Hopefully, not on the back nine yet, but you know, but that's the big thing for me is I just want to make as much of an impact while I'm above ground as I can. Um, and just wait it one day at a time. But yeah, for me, it's just yeah, there's nothing really. I live a pretty boring life, other than the kids and family. I don't really have much going on, I guess you could say. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you do have a lot going on, and you are very successful. And thank you so much for being on this podcast.
yeah, thanks, man.
Where can people connect with you and support you?
Yeah, from mortgage side of things, Keith Turner HFC. So Keith Turner as in Homestead Funding Corp, but
Mhm.
KeithTurnerHFC.com is a good jumping point. That'll have my calendar link if somebody's thinking of trying to buy their first house. We schedule an appointment, kind of like a haircut, and just goes right in my schedule and kind of diagnose what needs to be done, see where the game is, set up a good game plan. Or you just call the office, 860-444-0650. We're just going to Google, type in Keith Turner Homestead, and I'm sure everything will pop up there. Uh, and we have the Facebook pages, the Instagram, um, but yeah, that's where you find me. And then we're right down here. We're down here at 8 Union Street, in New London, since 1980. And some
Mhm.
of the stuff in this office looks like it's been here since 1980. But
Mhm.
right near the Guard Art Center, City Hall, um, that part of New London. So
Got it.
okay.
And make sure for those that are researching, make sure to put Keith Turner Mortgages, because if you just put
Yeah, yeah,
Homestead, you may find a farmer in Kansas. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's
yeah,
like a police chief in New York that I
yeah,
get some Google alerts for his name every so often. So
that's too funny.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, homestead funding,
Yeah,
mortgages. Yeah.
yeah, cool. Well, thanks again, Keith, for being on. It was a
Thank you,
pleasure
man.
talking with you, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, take care.